one right there. Okay, so that cut is done. Now the only one we really need to do here is this one that's behind. Of course, there's nothing in there. It's not too... Use my brush and go back to the dark value and work down. We'll start over here. Always looks like it needs to be darker than the palette. Those little tiny dots. Just kind of double checking the placement. Okay, now we're going to change values. This one's probably just going to have the two values as well. All you can really do is your best. Try to get them all in there if you can, or like I said, if you can't, well, you've done your best. This is kind of a difficult pattern. Kind of funny, they're all scrunched up there, and then as you come down they pull apart. So there's not so many of them. Little tiny ones in here. There's like one right there. You can barely see it. And then we're going to jump back up to the dark again. There's like one right here. Those guys are in there, but we'll darken them. Actually, there's another one there. And here. Not too many down here. And don't want to go over that statement. There we go. Okay. Just going to reinforce some of these because they're pretty dark. And you definitely want to see them. And I'm just barely touching them, and it's giving them a little bit better value. Okay, we got our dots in, except for right there. On that petal. Now this is going to be the lighter value here, since this is a petal that's in the background. Now that one I got pretty light, or big I should say, so we're gonna let that sit up for a minute so it'll dry. There's one right over here. And there's a long one right there. This should be dry enough. I can go back in. There we go. These are pretty nondescript. So in other words, you don't see them very well. There we go. There's one right there. Now, while I'm thinking about it, we're gonna finish that stem up real quick. Just gonna take the background color and add a little bit of yellow to it, and I want to create the edge of this stem. There we go, that's better. Reinforce the center here a little bit, and right down here. I'm also going to bring that color over yellow a little bit more too, so now I'm just going to, since that was wet on dry, I'm just going to soften into that edge. I like that better. We're going to take our darkest value and put in our stamen, as long as we're using this color. Very similar color. And that'll give the dots here some time to dry a little bit too. Can't seem to get my paper wet. There we go. I'm just getting my cloth wet. This one just seems to be a little bit too much. So I'm going to just pick it up. That's better. Okay, we're going to work from this way to the right because I'm right-handed. Now, these are not I think what we're going to do here, put this closest to the stem, this darker value. Just little dots. So we want a couple different values in here. You want to cover up all the white. I'm having a hard time seeing today, so I'm going to grab my magnifying glass. That's better. This does come over a little bit, so you want to be sure and get that in there. Alright, now I'm going to take a little bit more of the lightest value. It's got a little bit more red in it. Red orange, I should say. Create that second value. More down the center. And again, just little dots. Okay, now I'm going to add just a bit of water to that to lighten it. And that'll be our light value. Many values in these things as you can get, the more realistic. Making sure my magnifying glass makes it look so large. I just want to make sure I'm not making it too large. But again, the more values you can get in, even in a small area like this. here's the first one. Here is I have gone ahead and I've darkened around the flower. And I left, so you wouldn't be bored, 2 tiers, a little bit here for me to show you, and then we'll darken in some of those areas. All I'm doing is taking my clean water brush, loading it with the water that's blending and glazing medium. And I'm going to do this as a, if you want to call it wet into wet, because I'm leaving it far enough away that it's going to have a space to dry into. And I'm going to go right up to this edge here. So I've got that nice and moist. Now I'm just going to pick up my color that we used for the background before, but I did add in some neutral tint. So it's darker, which is exactly what I want. Up against the flower, I want it to bring it out. Make the flower come forward with that dark value behind it. Actually, I'm going to go to my larger brush. This isn't quite cutting it. I have a 4 now, which is a number 6 for Velvet Touch, if that's what you're using. You want to get it nice and dark right up against that flower. So that's what's going to make that pop. Okay, now I'm going to take the other brush that I was using, the number 2, and I'm just going to soften in that edge just a little bit to the water that I've already applied, just to soften it in. Make sure you don't have any hard edges. I used neutral tint to darken this because it's got quite a blue base to it, and it really went well with our blue-green. I'm just darkening that background one more time. And if it doesn't get dark enough this time around, you might have to go back and do it again. These I all did just one time. Making sure each of the corners is nice and dark. Dropping in that color right where you want it. And since you've got that moisture down, it is going to soften into that water. Okay, soften some of these edges away here. Okay, let's move on. Not much left to do on this side. So I'm taking my clean water again. Make sure my tape's down, although started to come up there, so it's going to have a hard time staying down. Pick up some more of my paint with the dark in it. Pick up right where I left off. And this is just like a wet on wet, except that it's not the entire surface is wet, so works pretty well. Now this should all blend in. Let's just make sure this one blends in. And this is just going to make that flower pop right off of that paper, which is exactly what we want to do. Now I'm not going to go around this entire area, but I do want to get the corner and this edge a little bit. And again, you want to bring out your paint a little bit further than what, or your water a little further than you want your paint. There we go. Value, value, value. You want to make sure you get enough values in there so that this flower looks realistic. More values you can get in there, the better your design will look. And I'm just going to do this one wet on dry. So it's such a small area. Okay, I'm going to detail this stem. Just want to add a little bit of paint right there. It seems to be not wanting to hold. Just going to detail this stem a little bit. By that I mean I'm just going to go around it with the color that we're using. Since I didn't have any water down, now I'm going to just go back in and making it slimmer, basically, is all I'm doing. Just seemed to be a little bit too wide. Just letting that background darken that area. Okay, so at this point, we are pretty much done. I don't want to do anything up in there because you want some highlights. You want some highlights there and some highlights here. So I'm just going to kind of take a look around and make sure we don't have any hard edges. Doesn't look like we do, which is a good thing. I'm very happy with the way the flower turned out. I hope you're happy with yours. Get this corner just a little bit better. This kind of helps shape those stamen too a little bit, which does not hurt. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to sign this. Just cleaning my brushes. Just inherently bothers me to put away a dirty brush. And let me see here, what do I have out as far as little guys? This is a triple aught. And I'm going to move this so you can see me. And this is, again, something that you want to practice. Signing your name. You want to make sure that you're able to see me. Just reloading my brush if I need to. There you go. This project is complete. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be putting this on Etsy and YouTube. I have a cardinal that I need to add to YouTube and Patreon. I'll be putting it on all of them. I still have a red, or the red cardinal, and I also have a white rose to add to all three as well as this project. So keep an eye out for all of those. And thank you for joining me. If you decide that you want to take a class, rather than become a patron, go right to my Etsy store. I've got beginners, intermediate, and advanced classes. And you can decide on whichever ones you would like. Or you can do a Patreon and practice with all of the designs and see which ones you like. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.